Welcome to GovTalk. I'm Travis Youssef. Today we're joined by Mayor Ken Riscica of the Village of Plandome Heights. Thank you for being here, Mayor.
Thank you for inviting me back. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, nice to see you. Well, let's just start by getting to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to get involved in local government.
That's great. I got involved in local government in 2008 when my neighbors invited me or asked me if I would be interested in becoming a trustee. The village had just had our taxes raised, our local village tax raised by 73%, and people in the village were concerned that there was no financial expertise on the board.
Sure.
We had a board of trustees that was talented and skilled and well-meaning, but they didn't have a background in finance, which I do, and I'll go into that. I went on to become mayor in 2012 after the existing mayor decided not to run, and I've served since then. I mentioned my background in finance. I want to kind of lay a little bit of a foundation here that I graduated Hofstra University, first in my class, summa cum laude, highest honors in accounting, after attending SUNY Farmingdale, where I had to work my way through and earn scholarships to get to Hofstra. When I graduated Hofstra, I went to work for one of the top international accounting firms, where I rose to the partner level in 14 years. Wow. I'm sorry, in 11 years when the norm is 14.
Yes. And
after 15 years, I left in connection with various restructurings of that business at the time. I went on to be chief financial officer of two different public companies, and in 2008, I formed my own consulting company where I provide financial and operational consulting to different organizations. I don't do audits, I don't do tax returns. That's what most people think of when they think of someone who's a CPA. But I'm more operational and financial planning and control oriented. I help my clients solve problems. And who are my clients? It's interesting in terms of my background that most of my career was working with small businesses, businesses that make something or develop something or whatever. And for a short period of time before I made partner, for about 2 years in the accounting firm, I was moved to the Fortune 500 world. And so I worked 2 years exclusively on one single client as it went through a series of restructurings and changes and financings. So I have a very diverse and wide background in finance, accounting, and operations, with a particular attention to small enterprises. And what I like to say about small enterprises is they have to do things right, not cheap, because cheap, you do it twice. So that background is particularly well suited to the opportunity that was presented to me to serve the village of Plandome Heights. Plandome Heights is 1,000 residents, roughly, about 800 registered voters, 326 homes, and it's entirely residential with one church. There's no commercial, so it's a fairly small and simple village. We have one full-time employee and 2 or 3 part-time employees.
Mayor, when did you decide to call that home?
I moved to Plandome Heights in 1998 when my son was about 3. Maybe going on 4. We put him in preschool at the Montessori school on Shelter Rock Road.
Oh, wonderful.
we've lived there ever since.
So he has a really wonderful childhood growing up there then.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, he was involved in a lot of things. He's not a sports kid, but he was involved in theater and music and marching band and Boy Scouts.
Oh, wonderful.
So I was a volunteer leader in his Cub Scout and his Boy Scout years, and that was a very rewarding experience and an opportunity for him and I to get closer and for me to be with him and his friends.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful, Mayor.
That was great, a great experience.
Yeah. Now, what would you say makes the village unique?
It's one of the smallest villages in the state.
Oh,
so that makes it that makes it challenging to comply with all the mandates that we get out of this state. The village is unique in that it has no commercial, it's all residential. The village is unique in that it's a walking distance to a very desirable train station. So the commute to New York City for our residents is much better than many other areas of Long Island. The community is unique in that it's affordable. There are parts of Manhasset that are less affordable. Well, there are parts that are more affordable and parts that are less affordable, more exclusive, and so we tend to have an upper middle class professional residency. Because we're small, I describe it's like Mayberry, the old Mayberry TV show. If something happens on the west side of the village, people on the east side of the village know about it about 2 hours later. So it's very small and very desirable.
What do you find most rewarding about being mayor?
The most rewarding thing for me is because we're so small, because our government is very efficient, I can see the effects of my work quickly. Residents bring a problem to my attention, and I can get it fixed and see that it's fixed. And that's very rewarding. That's very rewarding to be able to do that in your home, in the place where you live. Now, it takes a certain flexibility to do that. Not everybody can do that. I only have the one child. I don't have 3 or 5. He's left the nest at this point in time, and I work for myself, so I have more time flexibility than the average resident, and I have more time available at this point in my life. So it's easier to contribute than it might be for other people.
No, understandable. That's great. And especially since you've been there for almost 30 years, again, you take pride in that.
Yes.
And I can tell that you do. Talk to me a little bit about when it comes to community engagement. What is it that really defines Plandome Heights?
Well, community engagement takes several forms. One is we have monthly open meetings on the first Monday night of every month, and our meetings are open to the public, and we conduct our business totally transparently. So that's an element of it. But frankly, in a community that's mostly satisfied or happy, nobody comes to our meetings. People come to your meetings when they have an issue or they're unsatisfied, and we haven't had a great deal of that. So open meetings is an element of community engagement. Communications is a large element of community engagement. And the internet and our ability to blast emails, we don't use social media. I'm not a big social media fan, and a government has record retention requirements that may be inconsistent with social media. You may have a very rude engagement in social media, and you're required to keep all that information. And so we rely much more on emails. But as far as communication goes with residents, my firm belief as a resident myself, is that people interpret the lack of information negatively.
For sure.
They always assume something bad is going on if they don't get information. So I feel an obligation to provide more, not less, information to residents. And we do that by email blast. And actually, in important matters, I learned this one the hard way. We use snail mail. We will, if something's very important, we will send an email blast to residents, and we'll follow that up with a letter that's posted on our website and mailed to the residents. Now you say, why would you go to the expense of mailing a letter in today's world? Well, we had a controversial situation once in the village, and a week or two after the issue surfaced, I'm hearing from people, why did nobody tell me this? I never heard about this. And the answer is, not everybody signed up for your emails. Sure. Not everybody goes to your website. Yep. But a piece of mail, like their tax bill, reaches every single resident. Yeah. Yeah. So I think communication is an important part of community engagement.
No, for sure, and especially, having more information and knowing more knowledge so that you're being proactive, rather than having a reactive resident that says, well, I wasn't informed, but you're actually giving them more information than maybe they want, but again, it's important to be able to say, look, here's everything that's going on right now, being very transparent in that regard, which is great. Talk to us a little bit about the present, about any major priorities and projects. We talked a little bit about your 10-year capital plan. So, Mayor, if you'd love to go into that a little bit.
Well, let me see if I can frame it this way. When my neighbors asked me to get involved as a trustee and then ultimately mayor, the village didn't have financial expertise on the board. Okay. I have a lot of financial training and experience.
A master, so to speak.
And so what we didn't have when I got there in 2008 was a simple thing like a monthly comparison of financial performance versus budget. We didn't have that. Yeah. I implemented that. We didn't have a capital plan. We had, once I did the capital plan, we hired an engineer to tell us what our needs were, and then we priced it out. Great. We had $1.2 million in capital needs over a 10-year period. Now, at that time, our village budget was only $350,000. Facing 10 years to spend $1.2 million is quite a challenge. Sure. And we didn't have that tool in place. Not because of bad intention, but because people didn't have the expertise. I did the plan. And then we managed to that plan. I went out hat in hand to the various different agencies and elected officials asking for grant money, and was very successful in getting that. And we try to follow the state controller's advice. The state controller has periodic meetings and training, and we try to stay consistent with best practices for villages, and so that's been a large part of my impact on the village, because the translation of that activity is tangible in the sense that we have 15 years of budgets that are in surplus. When I came, the budget had 2 years of deficit. 15 years in surplus. Wow. When I came and we started budgeting and looking at operating expenses, we cut the budget 15%, and then we held it firm for 3 years after that. So in 15 years, our annual tax increase has averaged about 1.7%. Wow. So that's a tangible result of knowing how to plan, knowing how to operate versus budget, and make adjustments, and do things within budget and satisfy a capital plan.
Yeah, wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, Ken. Yeah.
You know, and I think I want to add to that in the capital plan, we went about funding the money needed for the plan, and the last leg of the plan was a $600,000 effort. We completed that effort in 2022.
Okay.
$600,000 is what the project cost, a little less, but just about $600,000. We had to set that $600,000 aside. And what we were able to do with a lot of hustle and a lot of arm twisting was obtain grants for essentially 100% of the $600,000. So when the project was done, we had paved 75% of our roads, and the $600,000 that we had set aside was sitting in our capital fund, unused.
Wow, that's great.
So now we're in the same facility for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years at this point in time. We've seriously outgrown it. It's a leased facility most municipalities own. And so I'm looking to invest our accumulated capital into a permanent home for the village.
That would be nice.
Permanent facility.
Yeah.
We're actively working on that.
No, it sounds wonderful.
It's a long process, and it takes a lot of community engagement to convince people of the need and to get buy-in. And we continue to work on that.
Yeah. What do you think having this permanent home will mean for the future of Plandome Heights?
Well, let me frame it in a larger context of infrastructure. And
yes.
This is going to take a minute. When the village was formed in 1929, our first real mayor was mayor for 14 or 15 years. His wife was the clerk. His home was Village Hall, and they met and village meetings were held in his living room. And the village continued that model into the 1990s, where the village records would move from volunteer home to volunteer home to volunteer home. That's not a long-term strategy for a government. The government has irreplaceable records, building records, drawings, designs, approvals, that need to be accessed sometimes, and that need to be protected. They need to have a permanent place to put, and they need to be protected. We don't have that ability. So over time, we have, particularly over this 20-year period we're in right now, we've been attempting to formalize our infrastructure. I told you what we did on finance by adopting best practices, and that's an important part of what we did. We did the same thing in our IT infrastructure. We used to manage it with volunteers until we had an oops, and then we learned that we needed more professionals involved in the process. So we had regular, timely updates. Not that the volunteers weren't talented and useful. We still work with them today, but they have real jobs, and they can only do what they can do. And we
only
have
so much on your plate.
And we have needs every day.
For sure.
So we appreciate their continued involvement, but we did that, and we professionalized the hardware and the architecture of the IT. We also digitized all of our building department records, meaning those drawings and permits and files going back to the year we were formed, are now in digital media in addition to paper media. We got a $50,000 grant for one project to digitize and a $25,000 grant for another project to digitize. So over the last 20 years or so, we've worked on our financial processes. We've executed a 10-year capital plan, so we have no deferred maintenance, no deferred capital. We've executed an IT infrastructure plan. We've essentially taken the village and brought it, more appropriately into the current environment.
Sure.
And the last piece that we need to do for that is to have a permanent home for the village records, for the residents to come and be able to meet. And the village will be 100 years old in 4.5 years. And
That's incredible.
My vision is that the village hall is a concluding component of the rest of these infrastructure improvements. Oh, and I left out staff, and that's a terrible thing to leave out.
Okay.
When I first came here, the clerk at the time had been a hairdresser, all right? Because we're so small and we have such a small budget, we can't afford to pay what other villages pay. And so we were taking people that were available, people we could get, people we could find. And over time, we've improved that to the point where now, we hire out of the private sector because we don't offer the benefits that other governments offer. We hire out of the private sector, but we hire at a different level than we used to. Okay. We need a professional staff that can work with financial best practices and work with an IT infrastructure that's successful. And we have to pay the price for that. And the proof is in the pudding of having built up enormous surplus over 15 years, with holding taxes at 1.7%, the infrastructure is paying dividends in our real results. So I think the 100-year anniversary is going to be a big deal in the village, and I think if we're able, it would be great to find an affordable, and it has to be affordable. We're not looking for a Taj Mahal.
Yep.
There's no grandeur to what our vision is. We want a proper place for our people to work, and our residents to visit.
Yeah.
And so,
which I think will only just add value.
I think that will position the village for the next 100 years. So that's what I'm looking forward to going forward.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Mayor. No, that's really great. We just have a couple more minutes here. Are there, I guess, just two final questions here.
Sure.
Any new initiatives? You talked about, pretty much like what, I guess that's short term in the next 4.5 years, but any long-term plans for residents?
I think that when we completed our capital plan, which was ambitious, I think that we basically buttoned up everything that we could see that needed to be done.
Great.
The next thing I see that needs to be done is a large undertaking, and that's Village Hall. And I don't see other large undertakings.
That's the main focus
on the horizon at the moment, other than having some sort of successful 100th celebration.
Yeah.
And there are people that are much better at doing that than I am.
Well, that's great, Mayor. I guess, and then the final question would be, what message would you like to share with the residents of Plandome Heights?
I'm so pleased that I moved to Plandome Heights when I did in 1998. We looked at a lot of homes in a tough market. The market is probably tougher today. And like everybody, we paid more than we wanted to pay. But I live in a beautiful community. I look outside my front door and I see all the maintenance and capital work that has been done to keep the community beautiful. We just planted 15 trees this past year, village trees on the village right away.
Great.
We have a very treed community, and people keep their trees trimmed and manicured. We are very close to town, very close to downtown Manhasset, very close to the train station. That is an enormous convenience. And I have great neighbors. I have great neighbors. And being the mayor, I get to interact with them when they have needs, and even when they don't.
Sure.
People have been very good to me. I get, there's 3% of the people you can never please, but most people in our village are very appreciative that our village is run by volunteers, and they're kind to me, and I appreciate that. And I enjoy my residence. It's a great community.
Yeah. Well, you put in the hard work, Mayor. So I mean, like you said, the proof is in the pudding, and just showing that you care, and by doing the right thing, is really, I think, made your village wonderful. So would you say it's the best part of Long Island to live? You might be biased, but one of the best, maybe.
I think we're the best in our category. I think might be nice to have a mansion on the water. We have a little bit of a waterfront, but not mansion quality. And I think that those of us who live here are very fortunate that we can live here.
Yep, I agree.
I didn't grow up in this community. I grew up in a much more modest community with a single mom as raising 4 kids. So I think we're very fortunate to be here. So I think Plandome Heights is a great place to be, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Mayor. Mayor Riscica, thank you so much for being on the show, joining us today and sharing your insights. It's really always inspiring to hear from not just local leaders, but also residents, that really find the value and beauty in the communities.
And I encourage you to do this with other mayors. We, on the peninsula, 9 of us interact pretty regularly, and they are 9 pretty great people. And
no, we'd love to have them on.
I would love to hear their stories too.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what makes us unique is, our stories and what we're able to do and the impact that we have on our communities.
Correct.
Because like you had mentioned at the beginning, really the local government is the closest thing to the people. So being able to make an impact there is really going to make an impact even more on, the ripple effect. So, yeah. Well, thank you again, Mayor.
My pleasure.
And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. For more local stories and community updates, keep on watching North Shore TV and GovTalk. I've been Travis Youssef.